Orcs have had one of the strangest runs in fiction I've ever seen, from clashing with the armies of man on the fields of Pelennor, to waging a war of manifested truth across the stars of Warhammer, from an oddly pseudo-Hispanic life of nomadic falconeering to giving hot babes massages for a living. It's been a wild and inconsistent ride from the beginning. Their odd story of constant transformation started with Tolkien, who lost sleep over the mistakes that he made with them, forcing himself to rewrite them several times over, and with their shift to D&D, they even got a full cultural makeover in Japan thanks to a single word. So today I wanted to take a dive through history, look at a buttload of different takes on what orcs are, what they could be, and why they're such a problem both in and outside of fiction, and why they took such a strong turn in Dungeons & Dragons throughout the years. Instead of flinging out a bunch of alternatives, I want to try and hone in on what their strongest traits are and how to set them apart from other reskinned humans. They shouldn't just be green people who are slightly more durable and a little bit angrier. We already have the Frogwife for that, and the Mask, and the Green Lantern, and Muscle Man, and the Jolly Green Giant, and the Dragon Ball Pickle Guy, and Shrek. Anyway, orcs, possibly one of the youngest fictional creatures to become known worldwide before video games. Their exact origins are a little wonky. If my research is correct, the word orc began as the Elvish word for goblin.
Orcs in the tower.
Old Bilbo called them goblins.
Because in The Hobbit, there were no orcs, there were just goblins. The name Orcrist is the Elvish name for the sword called Goblin Cleaver, foe of the goblins in the Misty Mountains. These goblins, later fully transformed into a separate species of orcs, initially were born from Morgoth's magic using the heats and slimes of the earth, per the Fall of Gondolin. So Satan put hot splooge in a petri dish and outpoured goblinoids, ready to fight the holy elves with the power of pit sweat and rabies. The idea of them coming from the earth, and the use of the name orc, strongly stems from Tolkien's Catholic tendencies. They're similar to the demon spawn of hell, cursed to reside beneath the earth and forever fear the light of God's holy sunshine. Their name even comes from either Orcus, an equivalent to Hades or Pluto, the god of the underworld, or from Beowulf, which overwhelmingly inspired Tolkien's writing. Orknea essentially meant demon corpses or evil spirits. Multiple notes about orcs describe their aversion to the sun, either hating it or being entirely unable to survive under it without human blood in their veins. All in all, since the elves were akin to angels and we needed war in the story, we needed orcs, or goblins. It's funny, before the Third Age, they were all tiny little guys, and then they got big. An alternative origin was provided, where the first orcs were deeply corrupted men or elves, similar to the angels that followed Lucifer when he tripped and fell from heaven after a night of heavy drinking. Post-corruption, they start fucking, like a lot, which is where we got the Uruk-hai, meaning half-orc or strong orc. I don't know, I didn't check. It might even mean fighting orc. All origins aside, orcs and men clash in beautiful, unforgettable scenes where swaths of both die at each other's hands. That's not a problem, right? It's a fun, dramatic story of good triumphing over absolute evil? Well, what if orcs could speak? What if orcs were capable of not just sentience, like animals and beasts who we kill and eat without qualms, but also sapience? And if a creature is sapient, according to Tolkien's own Catholic beliefs, it has a soul, and killing one without good reason would be an evil and immoral act. Herein lies Tolkien's moral dilemma, a topic I was not aware of and did not expect at all when I jumped down this well-worn rabbit hole. Since the narrative is meant to be a religious work of art, and also since Middle-earth is supposed to take place in a time before our own in ancient Europe, well fitting his beliefs about the world's nature, Tolkien became aware of this unintentional contradiction and tried to rewrite aspects of the story to try and repair what he saw as a mistake. There's a weird fixation on the ability to speak meaning you had a soul, because since you can convey morality, you must have it, and if you can't, you don't. Sorry, mute people. And this works really well in dialogue, especially shown in The Two Towers, where an orc expresses disapproval of an elf abandoning their comrade. Gorbag, proof of rationality in orcs. In humanizing these creatures designed to be wholly evil so you could kill them and not steal them from the afterlife, he accidentally shattered the core nature of his paracosm's circle of order. There's a word of the day for you. I learned it from a roommate when we were both fleshing out our core homebrew settings. Mine still has the working title Tesseract. I should really get back to it. The setting, but also the video. You know what's most tragic about orcs? They don't have tables. Fancy tables, with cup holders and a receded play space featuring official art from the game that they're in. The kind only provided by today's sponsor, Game Theory Tables. They've teamed up with the official D&D crew, WizKids, Beetle and Grimms, and a few others to provide this absolute mountain of quality, with a bunch of modular stuff to help augment the TTRPG experience. It's great for clearing up space on the table. It's even got like a buttload of cup holders and some wine holders too. It's a bit of an investment, but if you're wanting to start streaming your home games, you're looking for a ridiculously high quality dining table that you can swap out for the craziest play space imaginable, or you just want to grab some auxiliaries like the DM space and latch it to what you already have, I implore you to explore the Table of Adventure. Supporting them helps me a bit, but also gets you a big table with a solid discount. Thanks, sponsor. Now back to the video. By rewriting their origins, destroying continuity, and ultimately failing to perfectly resolve this dilemma, he spiraled and fell into what one would hope is accidental but very straightforward racism. There are 2 massive Wikipedia pages that fully explore the timeline of the works, the shifts in the origins, and the potential propaganda-fueled model of lesser races, since he lived during both world wars and fought in the first one. Good old tribalism. Speaking of lesser, did I mention that these things are fucking ugly? Though they were of human shape, they were hideous, filthy, borderline cannibalistic,
Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys!
uneducated, tusk-toothed and fanged, bow-legged, long-armed, flat-nosed, and all-around deformed. They were so ugly that they modeled one after Harvey Weinstein. Weirdly, to me, the orc looks better than he does, that acrid, gangrene-riddled, half-stroked scrotal anathema of a human. In old-school D&D, Gygax got all giddy when reading about orcs and made them his own, with a slight shift, trading Morgoth for Gruumsh and Elevator for Corellon. And thanks to that, we have our second and most prevalent line of orcs. Their first edition description took their deformities, specifically their large fangs or tusks and flat noses, and made them oddly porcine, or pig-like. This depiction inspired the hit game Wizardry, a PC trilogy of video games that now has like 20 spin-offs. Do you know where that game and first edition was a smash hit? Well, this little piggy went oink. This little piggy went to the donut shop. But this little piggy, he went to Japan. Exploding in popularity in like the 80s, these orcs went on to be the mainstay appearance for the pig orcs we see in manga and anime today. All because of the ascribed birth defects in Tolkien's orcs, emphasized in early D&D, popularized by early video games, and translated into Japanese before going through the grinder of their culture and time. That's fucking cool. Megami Tensei, Overlord, Dungeon Meshi, interspecies reviewers, and probably a lot more, but getting a good list is hard. All because of them having snub noses. They generally have a strong distinction from goblins, ogres, and oni, which is another man-eating demon, but I want to do separate videos on those topics. Going back to D&D, here's something that I found a little fucking crazy. In the 2014 Monster Manual, you have a 2-page spread about their religious fervor, warmongering, and barbaric tribalism, followed by 4 sample stat blocks of creatures that you might find in a war troop. In Volo's Guide to Monsters, the book deeply explores the orc pantheon, life in a war tribe, strongholds, their divine connection to a furious and exclusive pantheon, and provides even more variety to what they might be capable of. In the 2024 Monster Manual, they're not there. They're a playable species, but you can no longer fight an orc. I get that they moved away from inherent monster descriptions, opting more for evil vocations like cultists, bandits, and what was it? Toughs? Instead of thugs, we have toughs now. But it was a little jarring to notice that while researching this video. And I think we all know why, since the controversy goes far and wide when it comes to orcs. Firstly, they were monsters, then they were a moral quandary. Some people even thought their description was the result of anti-Japanese propaganda, which is ironic. And now that our pervasive culture can only circle the same 12 problems over and over because they're fundamental in our history, people ascribe the barbaric nature, association with darkness, proclivity to violence, and inherent strength to minority groups that suffer similar generalizations. A person, creature, or object, sentient, sapient, or not, is not inherently evil. In my opinion, nothing can be, because evil is a misinterpretation of the nature of entropy, but that might be for another video. So how do we fix orcs? Should we at this point? Probably not. But when it comes to being destructive, warmongering, uniform, and dangerous, nothing on the face of any planet works better than a system of beliefs. And when it comes to beliefs, nothing is better at enforcing them than a wrathful god who never changes and never dies. To know D&D's orcs, you need to know Gruumsh, the Allfather of the orcs, who hates everything but them, and also hates them a little bit too. If you look at bad fathers in fiction, and there are a lot, you'll find a pattern of overwhelming expectation. That or abandonment, but we're not talking about the dads that left to get milk and cigarettes, we're talking about the dads who put a gun in their kid's hand and say, "Go get me a beer." Gruumsh was a powerful deity with no home to call his own, a practical underdog by his nature in the world of gods, with 16 pages worth of history, most of which half written by biased elves or orcs. To put the story of Gruumsh simply, it starts as any overwhelmingly bloody story does, with a prank. Corellon, god of the elves, worked with all the other gods to figure out where their children got to live. Dwarves, humans, halflings, the whole lot. So they played a game to see who went where. And as a prank, the orcs got to go nowhere. Like the starting turn of Risk, where everyone takes their turn while you're in the bathroom and suddenly the board is full. I actually notice a huge correlation between Gruumsh and Hades, a god whose fate was sealed because they got bad luck or fucked over by their sibling gods. And now they're cursed forever, either jealous or spiteful of the gods who live in bright and glorious cathedrals where they have sex with everything under their incandescent sun, while the lone cursed god is mired with an impossible and unending task. You guys been playing Hades? I like the Sister Blades. The Morrigans are really growing on me. Sorry, I've been playing that game way too much. Anyway, the giddy prankster and the grumpy-ass orc god fought as a result of this prank, with Gruumsh having overwhelming fury and Corellon being a little fuckwad, but Corellon ultimately won the fight by cutting out one of his eyes. So, as sworn vengeance, Gruumsh planted his nomadic people everywhere, across every continent, plane, and pocket, imbuing them with fervor to fuck and suck like crazy and steal from every other god's child until no land is left for anyone but the orcs. Gruumsh also has a little posse of homeboys, and there's a swell of orc variants in Volos, which I'm pretty sure I covered back in 2019, before the world ended. Man, that's an insane realization. Things have, changed. Man, I've changed. But let me recourse through his homies and through the variants in a rapid-fire way so that you know what we have. Starting with the tribe of He Who Watches. You got Gruumsh, the orcish Kratos, Luthic, the razor-clawed cave mother and powerful witch wife of Gruumsh, Bogtru, their lobotomite baby boy and god of zealous strength, Ilnival, the tactician warmonger who got all the brain cells that Bogtru was denied, Yurtrus, the dark plague god and punishing whip of Gruumsh, and Shargas, assassin mastermind who hates everyone as much as Gruumsh does. As for orc variants, each god has their chosen, and we got some basic boys. Orcs and half-orcs, which are just orcs. Orc chieftains, which are bigger, better orcs who oversee the sex pits of their tribes. Blades of Ilnival, who work as frontline commanders. Claws of Luthic, boobid orcs who stay at home, heal, child rear, and use acrylic nails to slap their husbands. Eyes of Gruumsh, self-mutilating elf killers who want to be just like their big old daddy-o. Hands of Yurtrus, who are just stinky butt mages that don't wash their hands. Of Yurtrus, nurtured ones, suicide butt bombers made by the butt mages, red fangs, Assassin's Creed orcs, orogs, blue orcs praised for their overwhelming +1 in intelligence and bigger muscles. They're fucking stupid, ignore them, I don't like them. And the Tunaruk. Because Warcraft has demon orcs, we also have to have demon orcs. Even though orcs are demons, kinda. So there's the warband of the Allfather's path to scorch the earth. The existence of the orcs is kind of akin to a table flip by Gruumsh when everyone else has been cheating at the game the whole time. Now, with his one sleepless eye, he watches over every single orc like an evil Santa Claus, empowering his favorite children and striking fear into the hearts of the rest. What a horrible, horrible existence for every orc.
We don't wanna go to war today.
Here's a little opinion about how, although horrible, this works. Rulers, divine, religious, tribal, nationalistic, or otherwise, often determine the nature of the people who follow them. Not only giving them commands, forming and enacting global plans, but also determining how their follows are perceived by others. If Gruumsh is awful, bitter, hateful, and warmongering, so is everyone who serves him. It just sucks that orcs, from birth, have no choice in the matter. When Gruumsh speaks, that's like your father yelling at you for breaking a table while washing it because he was already yelling at you for how you were doing it wrong.
Oh no! Our table!
Because at that point you have nowhere to go, nothing to run to, and only the option to obey, conform, and accept punishment for your own safety. Only now, at the end of all that, do I understand why they went with a weird-ass nomad angle for Mexican cowboy orcs in 2024. The idea of orcs not needing a home, or seeing that since nowhere is their home, everywhere is their path, is a very fun take on it. But to me, that's not what orcs have been about this whole time. It's wholesome, but too wide a step away from everything we just went over. Before I reach my conclusion, there are two major examples I gotta at least graze. Warhammer and World of Warcraft. There's probably like a dozen others, but the Warhammer orcs literally eat war. They practically can't breathe without it. Though I don't want to read 200 pages of historical lore for Warhammer, I do know their desires to wage war and go on a warpath is so strong that their near-religious fervor literally manifests fuel in their ships, bullets in their guns, and death to their enemies. Their weird wish magic gets a little color-coded too, it's pretty funny. If you paint red flames on a spaceship, it goes faster. If something is green, it wins more. If something is yellow, it goes boom bigger, and if you paint an orc purple, it becomes untraceable. Because no one has ever seen a purple orc. The ones you can see are green. They wage war like a game, not for an end goal, which I really like. They also reproduce with spores, which is a huge callback to the original orcs being born from heat, slime, and dirt, popping out of the grounds practically war-ready with weapons in their hands. And World of Warcraft has an equally bizarre, kind of hard-to-read origin where they came from a stone colossus and a bunch of spores, and then got enslaved by ogres before breaking free. They later split up, formed clans, some made pacts with demons, and others learned shamanistic arts. God damn, there is so much to say about these things. But through writing this, I think I did find a conclusion. Are orcs evil? They are inherently destructive, war-inclined, and invasive. So, yes, in the traditional sense. Do orcs come from the ground? I'm gonna have to say yes. At this point I don't have a better lead-in, so here's my idea. Since orcs in D&D are a religious cult of barbaric nomads, they're mushrooms in Warhammer and in World of Warcraft, and they require freedom of choice to be good or evil, but all of them have to share the same goals, orc should be the name of a cult, whose members crave strength through conquering others, who ascend through their ranks by consuming mushrooms that turn them green, enrage them, and let them hear the voice of Gruumsh. Maybe Gruumsh could be the name of the mushroom that they become addicted to. And leaders of the cult would eventually become almost fully fungal savages who crave death in a valiant battle that will surely spread their spores across the battlefield, creating more orcs from brave warriors who survive the fight against them. It would be like a pseudo-religious infection, where becoming an orc is a choice and a fate, where your nomadic nature furthers the literal spread of your belief system and your biology. Let's play with acronyms, this shouldn't be too hard. One, raging contagion. Wow, that was easy. I was gonna do like 5, but f me, that works. If you got this far, that's crazy. Thank you for watching. These videos take a lot of time, so I'll either slow down my uploads a bit, or stick to some shorter ones in between, which is also a lot of work. I've for sure missed some fictional orcs, but with my little rage cult, all the orcs must die media actually kind of fits, because you have to be an asshole to join an adrenaline war cult like Fight Club. Let me know your favorite orc in the comments, or if you're feeling low IQ today, just comment orc or raging Cajun contagion or something. Get out of here. Get off my video.